Assalamu alaikum. In this next video, actually it'll be a series, I decided that what this world needs is a new understanding of Islam. Of course, there are Muslims out there who are just like me, and they have shown so much support and love on my channel because they see Islam in the same way. But there are some that have taken upon themselves to comment on my channel and to try to say I'm wrong or I don't have the right interpretation or the understanding of Islam. And I am going to remind them that I am not the only one that is able to see Islam this way. In fact, a religion full of 2 billion people, they have chosen this path for a particular reason, and they are all over the world and are, from different nations and different ethnicities. But I must say, there, a lot of times people are not able to understand the spiritual wisdoms within the Quran. And so when they come to my channel and they hear me speak, they think I am crazy. They don't understand where I am coming from. And I have a confession to make, because I said that I did not belong to a certain group of Muslims or a certain sect. And while that is true, because I would never myself call myself anything other than a Muslim, because a Muslim means in Arabic, based on what the Quran describes it as, is a person who believes in God, the angels, the book of life, and all the messengers and prophets are all from the same source. I am a submitter to that idea. I am a servant to God. I am a servant to this one source we call Allah in Arabic. So I do belong to a certain sect of Muslims that see Islam in a more spiritual way. And that would be the mystical Sufis. I would never call myself a Sufi. I would never divide Islam in my mind. I believe that if you are a Muslim, you are guided to have the spiritual wisdom and the knowledge. Now, there are some people who call themselves Muslims, but that's because they were born in a Muslim family, or they have been forced into it because of the nation that they were born into, and they have not really found the spiritual truths within Islam in order to be considered a true submitter or servant to God, servant to Allah. So I believe that becoming a Muslim really takes a lot of discovery of yourself and a journey to understand who you are as a servant to God and as a servant to others. Like I said, I do not belong to a certain sect, but there are Muslims in the past and today who actually connect with the way that I interpret the Quran. So I am not wrong, it's just that somebody might not understand the way that I see Islam. And when I read the Quran, how I see verses. And I will say, there was a man who was able to see the verses in the same way, and he was famous, and people have heard about him, and that is Khalil Gibran. Khalil Gibran, I feel, is somebody that sees the world in the way that I see it, although he is dead, hopefully in the place that he deserves and is in peace and bliss, by all the love and the wisdom that he shared with others. Khalil Gibran, to me, was a mystical Muslim. Now, it's interesting because people think he's Christian, they think he's Muslim. To me, he is both. Just as Gandhi explained that, when Gandhi said, I am a Jew, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Hindu, when a person comes from that unity consciousness, they are a true Muslim in the idea that they are able to see in the last revelations that all religions come from the same source, and it was only mankind that decided to divide itself. And Islam is trying to reunite that. And in no way in the Quran is it explained to unite through force or violence. The only violent verses in the Quran are about self-defense against oppressors, evil oppressors trying to take away land and home and oppress people spiritually. But Islam seeks to unite people through the understanding that we come from one source and that there is no division of gods, and that it's all one creator that we're all worshiping and giving thanks for. And that we may call ourselves differently because we're from different nations and we've had different messengers from different nations, and then that kind of established its own religion. But to understand that all those messengers come from the same nation, or from the same source. So I decided that what this world needs, and of course you can always, buy the book yourself, but what the world needs is maybe not so much my interpretation of, different ways that I see the Quran, but needs some type of way of showing a parallel between spiritual wisdom and what the Quran teaches. So I am actually going to read the Prophet. You can just turn the video off and you can just listen to the voice, because I'm going to read the Prophet. And I'm going to stop at certain places to show you where in the Quran that I might not use certain verses, but I will talk about overall ideas that are found in the Quran and how it relates and why Khalil Gibran wrote about the Prophet Muhammad. This was the way that he saw Muhammad, and it is also the way that I see Muhammad. I must say, being a highly sensitive person, as I am, and that's a thing, you can actually Google it. People are actually they are born with highly sensitive immune systems. That means lots of things bother them: sound, smell, taste. They get sick easily, and they are just very sensitive to outside stimuli. So a lot of times a highly sensitive person will be very attuned to the energies around them. And I have been really attuned to the energies that are in the world. Part of it is because of this facilitation of hate towards Islam because of the wars in Middle East. And we've always have an adversary of humans that are trying to get humans to kind of corrupt their own souls and their own hearts and minds, and it has happened. We have very loving people that have hated Muslims and hated Islam with no education on their own, and they're just following others blindly. So I want to read this book to you, and as I go through, if you understand the Quran, you will understand the way that Khalil Gibran saw Prophet Muhammad. And this is a different way of interpreting the words that Muhammad spoke about. But it's important to understand that I am not the only one. When you come to my channel and you're just kind of thrown off because you can't understand, you're like, well, what is she? She seems like, she has unity with Christians and Hindus and even the Jews. Yes, because I understand the spiritual wisdom within the Quran telling me that if I want to be allowed into heaven and allowed into this heavenly state of bliss, I need to come to terms with having the unity with other people of other nations and other religions. So very much I do believe in the unity consciousness, and that will bring me to the state that I so seek, which is heaven. So let me begin. All right. Al-Mustafa, Muhammad Al-Mustafa, by the way, the chosen and the beloved, who was a dawn unto his own day, had waited 12 years in the city of Orphalese for his ship that was to return and bear him back to the isle of his birth. And in the 12th year, on the 7th day of Ioli, the month of reaping, he climbed the hill without the city walls and looked seaward, and he beheld his ship coming with the mist. Then the gates of his heart were flung open, and his joy flew far over the sea. And he closed his eyes and prayed in the silences of his soul. But as he descended the hill, a sadness came upon him, and he thought in his heart, How shall I go in peace, and without sorrow? Nay, not without a wound in the spirit shall I leave this city. Long were the days of pain I have spent within its walls, and long were the nights of aloneness. And who can depart from his pain and his aloneness without regret? So this is talking about Muhammad Al-Mustafa is ready to leave this world. Okay, he has done what he has set out to do, and the way that Khalil Gibran beautifully describes is that he's ready to depart on a ship. But you can also take this as the idea that he's ready to leave this earth, ready to die. And the way that he departs is, it's sad. There's some bittersweet sadness, the idea that he is leaving behind this earth and these people that he connected to and that he spoke in front of. And he has always been a little bit alone. As we know as Muslims, Muhammad was in the cave when he received these revelations. That means that he was somebody that felt kind of isolated from society, and he wanted to go in the cave and be alone and meditate and pray for wisdom and guidance. And I don't believe that he was just sitting in the cave without purpose. I believe that he was sitting in the cave in order to reach some understanding, just as the Buddha sat underneath the Bodhi tree. I'll go on. Too many fragments of the Spirit have I scattered in these streets, and too many are the children of my longing that walk naked among these hills. And I cannot withdraw from them without a burden and an ache. It is not a garment I cast off this day, but a skin that I tear with my own hands. Nor is it a thought I leave behind me, but a heart made sweet with hunger and with thirst. Yet I cannot tarry longer. The sea that calls all things unto her calls me, and I must embark. For to stay, though the hours burn in the night, is to freeze and crystallize and be bound in a mold. Fain would I take with me all that is here, but how shall I? A voice cannot carry the tongue, and the lips that gave its wings. Alone must it seek the ether. And alone and without his nest shall the eagle fly across the sun. Now when he reached the foot of the hill, he turned again towards the sea, and he saw his ship approaching the harbor, and upon his prow the mariners, the men of his own land. And his soul cried out to them, and he said, Sons of my ancient mother, you riders of the tides, how often have you sailed in my dreams, and now you come in my awakening, which is my deeper dream. So I'm going to stop right there to just explain. When the Quran talks about the true reality and the idea that there's an idea about time in the Quran of explaining towards the end that when the end times happen, when the end of all of this comes to us, it will seem almost like we have been living a dream. And when he says this, that how often have you sailed in my dreams, and now you come in my awakening, which is my deeper dream, meaning that his awakening is actually furthering and bringing him into a deeper dream, his deeper reality. Ready am I to go, and my eagerness with sails full set awaits the wind. Only another breath will I breathe in this still air, and only another loving look cast backward. And then I shall stand among you, a seafarer among seafarers. And you, vast sea, sleepless mother, who alone are peace and freedom to the river and the stream. Only another winding will this stream make, and only another murmur in this glade. And then shall I come to you, a boundless drop to a boundless ocean. And as he walked, he saw from afar men and women leaving their fields and their vineyards and hastening towards the city gates. And he heard their voices calling his name and shouting from field to field, telling one another of the coming of his ship. And he said to himself, shall the day of parting be the day of gathering? And shall it be said that my eve was in truth my dawn? And what shall I give unto him who has left his plough in mid-furrow, or to him who has stopped the wheel of his winepress? Shall my heart become a tree, heavy laden with fruit, that I may gather and give unto them? And shall my desires flow like a fountain, that I may fill their cups? Am I a harp that the hand of the mighty may touch me, or a flute that his breath may pass through me? A seeker of silences am I, and what treasure have I found in silences that I may dispense with confidence? So speaking about the idea of being in the cave, that is a place of solitude and quietness for Muhammad. He was a seeker of silences, and Khalil Gibran understood this. If this is my day of harvest, in what fields have I sowed the seed? And in what unremembered seasons? If this indeed be the hour in which I lift up my lantern, is it not my flame that shall burn therein? And empty and dark shall I raise my lantern, and the guardian of the night shall fill it with oil, and he shall light it also. So speaking about the hour, the Quran speaks about the hour all the time in the Quran, the idea of the hour of the end times, the hour of the power of the special night that the revelations came to Muhammad. So Khalil Gibran is equating the understanding that spiritual revelation can come to a person at a certain time and moment in their life. And he right now is saying, if this indeed be the hour in which I lift up my lantern, is it not my flame that shall burn therein? Meaning that he is having this realization that he is one with Allah, that all of the teachings and all of the wisdom that he has given to the people, he is finally realizing on his deathbed or on his journey out of the land that he is in right now, he is finally realizing that he has been an instrument and a tool for God. And that's why he says, am I a harp? Am I a flute? Am I the instrument that everything has passed through him and to the people? He is fully detached from his self-identity as a person. And he is now becoming one with Allah, in the sense that he is understanding that he has been given the message to give to people, but it was not him that did it, that he was only a tool. These things he said in words, but much in his heart remained unsaid, for he himself could not speak his deepest or deeper secret. And when he entered into the city, all the people came to meet him, and they were crying out to him as with one voice. And the elders of the city stood forth and said, Go not yet away from us. A noontide have you been in our twilight, and your youth has given us dreams to dream. No stranger are you among us, nor a guest, but our son and our dearly beloved. Suffer not yet our eyes to hunger for your face. So the elders are telling him, you have been such an amazing part of our community, such an important part of our community, please do not go. And the priests and the priestesses said unto him, so these are the spiritual people that, gave guidance to others. Let not the waves of the sea separate us now, and the years you have spent in our midst become a memory. You have walked among us as a spirit, and your shadows have been a light upon our faces. Much have we loved you, but speechless was our love, and with veils has it been veiled. Yet now it cries aloud unto you, and would stand revealed before you, and ever has it been that love knows not its own depth until the hour of separation. So here we have two different types of experiences. We see that the elders who have not reached that state of higher consciousness are trying to bring him back, and they are attached to Muhammad. And here we have the priests and the priestesses who have reached a state of higher understanding. They are saying, go, and we will have the memory of you, and that's the most important thing. So there's definitely a difference in attachment and in detachment. Okay. And others came also and entreated him, but he answered them not. He only bent his head, and those who stood near saw his tears falling onto his breast. And he and the people proceeded towards the great square before the temple. And there came out of the sanctuary a woman whose name was Al-Mitra, and she was a seeress. And he looked upon her with exceeding tenderness, for it was she who had first sought and believed in him when he had been but a day in their city. And she hailed him, saying, Prophet of God, in quest of the uttermost, long have you searched the distances for your ship, and now your ship has come, and you must needs go. Deep is your longing for your land of your memories, and the dwelling place of your greater desires, and our love would not bind you, nor our needs hold you. Yet this we ask ere you leave us, that you speak to us, and give us your truth. And we will give it unto our children, and they unto their children, and it shall not perish. In your aloneness you have watched with our days, and in your wakefulness you have listened to the weeping and the laughter of our sleep. Now therefore disclose to ourselves, and tell us all that has been shown you of that which is between birth and death. So Al-Mitra is now asking for Al-Mustafa, for Muhammad Al-Mustafa, to please leave them some knowledge of the last knowledge that they can then share with their generation, their younger generation, to keep the messages alive before he goes. She is asking him to give this to their people. And she says, please tell us of all that you have been shown about life. And he answered, People of Orphalese, of what can I speak, save of that which is even now moving within your souls? He's saying, what more can I speak about that you do not already know? That every time a messenger speaks to a nation, a messenger is only speaking what people know deep within their soul already. A messenger is like an alarm clock. A messenger wakes up people to their higher awareness and understanding and gets them out of the lower states of consciousness. That is all. And this is why he says, how can I speak already without words that are already moving within your souls? Then said Al-Mitra, Speak to us of love. And he raised his head and looked upon the people, and there fell a stillness upon them. And with a great voice he said, When love beckons to you, follow him, though his ways are hard and steep, and when his wings enfold you, yield to him, though the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you. And when he speaks to you, believe in him, though his voice may shatter your dreams, as the north wind lays waste the garden. For even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you, and even as he is for your growth, so is he for your pruning. And even as he ascends to your height, and caresses your tenderness branches that quiver in the sun, so shall he descend to your roots, and shake them in their clinging to the earth. Like sheaves of corn, he gathers you onto himself. He threshes you to make you naked. He sifts you to free you from your husks. And he grinds you to whiteness. And he kneads you until you are pliant. And then he assigns you to his sacred fire, that you may become sacred bread for God's sacred feast. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. But if in your fear you would seek only love's peace and love's pleasure, then it is better for you that you cover your nakedness and pass out of love's threshing floor into the seasonless world, where you shall laugh, but not all of your laughter, and weep, but not all of your tears. Love gives not but itself, and takes not but from itself. And love possesses not, nor would it be possessed, for love is sufficient unto love. This is why charity is so important in Islam. It is a way to show that you don't need your excess of things, and that when you give to others, you are detaching yourself from the material world. When you give food, when you give money, when you give clothes, when you give to others what others need, you are in essence disciplining yourself to understand that you do not need those material things, or you do not need that excess of material things, and you need only what you truly need in order to survive. And it is in essence an expression of love. When you give to others something from yours, you are showing love. You are expressing love. I'll go on. When you love, you should not say, God is in my heart, but rather, I am in the heart of God. And think not you can direct the course of love, for love, if it finds you worthy, directs your course. We are told in the Quran all the time that if you are someone who is good, if you are somebody who believes in the messages and has not mocked or ridiculed the messengers, if you are someone who has good intentions and you actually do the actions in order to prove that you are someone of good intentions, you are someone found worthy of these rewards and these blessings, because that is basically love directing your course of life, finding you worthy and then directing your course of life to show you how much your actions and your essence of who you are becoming is worth. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself. But if you love and must needs have desires, let these be your desires: to melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody to the night, to know the pain of too much tenderness, to be wounded by your own understanding of love, and to bleed willingly and joyfully. To wake at dawn with a winged heart, and give thanks for another day of loving. To rest at the noon hour, and meditate love's ecstasy. To return home at evening tide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart, and a song of praise upon your lips. That explains to me the direction of praying 5 times a day. In the Quran, we have that command, and Khalil Gibran is able to beautifully show the flow of it throughout your day. And that is how to do it. There are no guided steps. There are no concrete ways of doing it right or wrong. Everything has to come from your heart and come from your love for Allah and your gratitude. So I'm going to end it there, but I'm going to start the next video on marriage. Salam.